What's up, everybody? It's Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live, always in living color in Southern California. Well, I would say where the sun is always shining, but we're on a whole different time zone and it's dark outside. But we are so glad that you are joining us here for another edition of Wellness Wednesdays with none other than the co-host herself, the queen who is not so mean, but we're so glad to have her, none other than the Reverend Dr. Marguerita Story. What's up, Margarita?
Hey baby, how you doing? Good to see you again. It is always an amazing time when I get to be with you. I love and appreciate you. And to our Mac in the back, we're so grateful to God
Yes.
for his presence with us on today. How was your Thanksgiving, Marty?
Listen, I ate way too much food. It was amazing. Okay, I tried a couple new dishes this year. I tried my own lobster mac and cheese and my own seafood dressing. Let me tell you something. It made me slap somebody. It was good. I have to say so myself. Yes, yes. How was your
Awesome.
Thanksgiving, darling?
It was amazing. It was almost stress free until I got to the house,
Almost.
but I mean, otherwise,
Right,
We
right,
had
right, right.
we had a good time. We had a good time, and I'm so grateful I was able to be with my dad. You know, that's my only
Oh,
parent that I have
yes,
left. And so I
yes,
felt just so amazed by God that I got another moment, that type of
yes.
moment to spend with him. And so it was a good time. But listen, I was so glad to spend a little time with you. And them people were blowing my thing up about our wellness Wednesday we had. They were sick. And so it's my prayer that not only the laughter that was there, but laughter, the Bible
Yes,
says, is like a medicine. It'll heal some of those places. And
yes.
so it's our prayer that these Wellness Wednesdays become an important factor in our healthy living.
I totally agree. And I had one of my clients actually call me and said, were you and Dr. Story talking just to me? Because everything you spoke about really spoke to me. So that's the purpose of this whole Wellness Wednesdays, what we're trying to accomplish, to let people know you can live well. We have the
Yeah.
ability to live well. Will it take some work? Yes. But once you discover that peace that comes with being mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, like, now that's when we got to all pray. Spiritually, well, what a difference it makes because we want to speak to the whole person and not just the
Yes.
individual segments of the person. Most definitely.
Yes. Yes, I
Yes,
love
yes.
it. I love it. And then you've got such a unique, not only personable way, but even a practical way of helping
Mm,
us to kind of partner some of those clinical things to some of the conditions that we may find ourselves in. And so I love the fact that
sure.
you are always reminding us there's help out there. You're always
There
reminding
is.
us of that, and especially during this holiday time. I just love
Mm-hmm.
it.
Well, I appreciate you. Listen, I'm not that smart, so I need little simple things in life to remind me that I'm okay. Listen, I had to do rhyming and all that just to make sure I can remember this stuff. I put smart people around me to make me look smarter than I actually am. But that's a whole nother
Not
story.
so.
Listen, today we're talking about the part two because how to handle holiday stress went over so well. And so that's why we're
Yeah.
talking about part two of this. And I'm so glad that you are here again to join me. And I'm glad this was your vision about doing this wellness and what it looks like for especially those of us in the Black community, because too often we don't know. I agree with Dr. Rita Walker out of the University of Houston. Got to give her credit for this. She says again that too much, we are so much in crises and trauma rather that we no longer realize when we're in a crisis situation, and that just speaks to why this is so important because we want you to live well. We want you to come out of that
Yeah.
trauma. We want you to come out of the crisis mode, in defensive mode, in survival mode, and live well.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
I
yes.
love that. I love that.
So yes, you have what we call the setup of the show, and can you remind us of the setup of the show with our three topics that we're going to we go through, and how we structure the show? That's how I said the structure of the show. So, Dr. Story, can you remind us of how we structure this show so that people will follow along with us?
Well, it's so easy. It's three
Yes,
T's. What we're going to
yes.
do is we're going to have a topic we talked about. Martin and already let it out the bag. We're going to still be talking about this holiday wellness. That's our topic. And then we're going to
Yes.
have a time where we just talk about our topic. And then we're going to leave you with some tips because it's not enough to have a topic. It's not enough for us to
Right.
talk about it without us
Right.
ensuring that all of us leave with some tips as to how to
Yes.
live well. And so let's get this thing started on today.
I
We're
told you
going
I'm
to be
not that
doing this.
smart. I need to.
You're brilliant. That's why you put it on me. But when we're talking about this health, this mental health, and
Yes.
our wellness during the holidays, one of
Yes.
the things that I was beginning to think about, Marty,
Hmm.
was this term called the holiday blues. And
Yes.
so I said, now I've heard people that have said, I've got just the holiday blues. And I'm like,
Yes.
is that a diagnosis? It's not a clear diagnosis, but it has been
Right.
defined as
Yes.
the
Yes.
experience of sadness for the holiday period. And it is normally experienced from November to December,
Yes.
where people have this heightened feeling
Yes.
of sadness, of
Yes.
loneliness, of
Yes.
anxiety, and Marty, they said even depression.
That's exactly right. You're right on hit the nail on the head with that, and it can even begin as early as, again, you're saying November, as early as Halloween, because Halloween kind of
Oh,
kicks off the holiday season. And
mm,
what happens is there's so much pressure. There's so much pressure to be perfect during the
yes.
holidays. And the holiday blues, let me say it this way, looks differently on different people.
Mm,
Shameless plug to my show that I just did last week. And we talked about it from a male perspective. And I had
mm,
black men come on talking about the blues that they feel during this time of year because of the pressure to
mm,
provide, the pressure to protect, the pressure
mm,
to present, and the
yes,
pressure to even purchase
yes,
these type of things. And so too often men build their worth based upon what they do and how they could provide. And when you are in,
yes.
and can we admit that we're in a financially tough year, baby? I was at Costco and they ran out of eggs. Now I just don't understand. And because a dozen eggs was almost $5, I'm like, I'm gonna buy me a whole chicken and throw out there and a farm or
And see,
something.
you talking right because I'm about to have a cow strung out back here in doggone Williamsport, along with a couple of chicken heads. Y'all playing because I'm telling you, to get a gallon of milk and
Yes,
12 eggs, you give a 20 and
yes,
don't get no change back. The
no
devil is strong
change.
liar. This doesn't
Yes,
happen in 2 years. Now, let me tell you something. These
right.
people out here, they going unchecked. But Marty, this is really causing some blues
Yes,
because
yes,
it is making all of us have to make real choices between
yes,
food and fun for kids
yes.
sometimes.
Come on, come on.
It's also keeping up with what society says is necessary many times for young people to
Yes,
have. I mean, when you look at the average gift for a teenager, from a
right,
phone being $1,200, are you
right,
hearing me?
right.
And
And then
and
they want
and
the
a
latest
tablet.
gaming stations and
The
tablets and
That's thousands of dollars. So when you're talking about the men being in a struggle like that,
yes,
many single women whose
same thing.
spouses and
Yes,
others have had uh, 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 just issues where there's separations for
yes,
so many different reasons,
yes,
whether they've been involved in the justice system, or it's an issue of physical health.
Yes.
People
Yes.
are having to make very challenging choices in this
Hmm.
time. And so these blues, even though we may love the fact that there's some time off that we have, and we love the fact that we can
Right.
catch up
Right.
with family members, there's this duality
Yes.
that also is occurring where we are also exhausted and stressed. I
Yes.
have someone,
Yes.
Marty, that I was talking to, a young lady. She has been doing between 15 and 20 hours overtime so that she
Right.
can have the extra money necessary to do some
Wow.
things for her children so they won't
Sure.
notice a difference. And she started
Yes.
this when they started school, September, October. She's
Mm.
been doing this 20 hours. How much
That's a lot.
exhaustion? It's a lot, Marty.
That's
It's
a
a
lot.
lot.
And we're balancing all these things. And then if I go back to some of the men, they said now the exhaustion, you've done all of this and you
Mhm.
don't get a thanks. We don't get an
Wow.
appreciate you. And so
Yeah.
we talked about the sadness and the disappointment that comes along
Yeah.
with it,
Yeah.
because we've had to, and I think it's such an oxymoron that one of the songs they say it's the most wonderful time of the year, but that's according to
Yes.
whose perspective? Maybe from the
Yes.
children's perspective. In our Since we're talking about wellness, have we put unrealistic expectations on ourselves to deliver in sometimes which are impossible and very undeliverable circumstances? What are your thoughts about
I
that, Dr.
I
Story?
I really believe so, because honestly, we're the only people looking for a gift, and it's somebody else's party.
Mm, mm,
But we're
yes,
wanting everything for us,
right.
and it's supposed to be us celebrating the fact that God gave us the greatest gift already that we could
That's
ever have.
good.
And so I do believe we bought into a
Yes.
commercialization that is
Yes.
almost killing our capacity to enjoy, even if you're
Yes.
not a Christian, to
Right.
enjoy the time off with your family, because we're so frustrated with trying to do financially what we believe someone's expectations are. And so we're getting
Hmm.
off into this, and we're talking about how those guys were feeling and the other individual that I shared.
Yes.
But Marty, I found that there's some symptoms
That's
as
right.
well that come along with it, that may be key symptoms for us to be able to check ourselves to
I
make sure
love
that
that.
we're okay. And so let's share a couple of them. Okay, they were
Go ahead.
sharing about changes in appetite,
Yes. Very big
and
because, and
changes
when I
in
say
sleep patterns. Yeah.
And I think those go hand in hand. That's one of the first questions I ask anyone who's in my chair or sitting in my couch is like, let's talk about your eating patterns. Are you eating too much or are you not eating enough? Anything that's not your normal eating pattern, that's a healthy eating pattern, can lead to signs and display signs of depression or holiday blues. And we do the same thing with sleep patterns. Are you sleeping too much? Are you not sleeping enough? There is a direct correlation with our eating and sleeping patterns to
Mm.
depression and anxiety. And that those are so many things that we don't even talk about. What are so I review that a lot. Not only what are you eat, how much you're eating, whether it's too much or too little, but I'm going to explore what are you eating as well. Well,
Right.
and
Right.
are you taking the proper time to, remember the difference between a lot of time men and women in going to bed. Men just jump into bed. Women, I love what they do. A lot, most women, they prepare to go to bed.
Yeah. Yes,
Are
I
you doing
still
the
do, baby.
necessary?
Baby,
You still
this
do?
take work. Yeah, because I mean it takes work, because I've got to shut this thing down because it's going for
Yeah,
14 hours. And
that
I've
part.
got to prepare for that. Baby, she got to put rollers in her head. She got to wipe this slate clean. I mean, all of that. And so I'm in preparation. And even in the
Yes.
room, I've got 18 pillows on the bed. Can't nobody get in till you prepare, to
Right.
go to sleep.
But
But
that's
even
so
the
are we
room,
preparing the environment? There you go. Talk about the room.
right? Because one of the things is sometimes we have so many things around us that we
Yes, yes.
overstimulate ourselves. They've talked
That
about the
part.
light from our cell phones and our
Yes.
tablets and
And
computers being
TVs and
things and televisions being those things that subconsciously are gaining our subconscious attention and keeping
yes.
us from the best REM sleep that our bodies
Yes.
need to appreciate. And
You
so
better
I
talk
like
on it.
how yeah, but I like how you're putting together the fact that our appetite and sleep patterns go hand in hand
Yes.
because I've noticed that when I'm super stressed, I want the big bag of Lay's potato chips and I want to
Yep.
eat it till that's the last thing I do as I fall off to sleep. And I
But
don't
then
get
you
my
wake
best
up an
sleep.
hour later
That's
and
right. That's right.
just like at 3 in the morning, wide awake, mad.
Thinking,
Uh,
waking up like you done woke up 14 hours later. Girl, you've been asleep for 2.5 hours. Go back and lay down. But that's a
but
symptom
oftentimes,
that
can I
something's
address that
wrong.
real quick? Yes, and
Yes,
here's what I found when we have too much on our mind. I'm going to share this. I'm going to say this. Stop fighting the insomnia and get whatever. Do a mind dump. Get whatever's on your
yes,
mind and get it on paper. Get that email out or
yes,
whatever. And I promise you,
yes,
as soon as you get that off your mind, you're gonna fall right back to
yes.
sleep. You're gonna fall
Yes,
right back
yes,
to
and
sleep.
I love it. I love it. I love it because we're carrying that
Yes. Yes.
and putting that on us as we're supposed to be resting. And I love you saying, write it out, even if we don't complete it. Get it off
That's
your
right.
mind.
Get it off your
One of the
mind.
a very noted pastor out of Texas says before they go to bed every night, they go over a checklist of things that they
Mm,
did that day so that they can appreciate the
that's
accomplishments that they
good.
did,
That's
whether
good.
it's spend time with their child or whatever, because this helps them to get some of the things off of their mind. But then the other thing that they say that they do is they also give themselves an opportunity to say, what are going to be some priorities for tomorrow? I know I have a schedule for tomorrow, but
Yes.
something may
That's
have come up
good.
today and needs to be a priority so I can get it off of my heart and out of my head, get it on paper, and I can address it at the time that I need to address
Yeah.
it. So I like
Now
you
I
giving
can
us
rest.
that tip.
Yes.
Yes,
That's a good tip. Yes, it is. And so what were some of the other symptoms that you discovered with the holiday blues?
I discovered irritability and
Yes.
difficulty
Yes.
just concentrating that they
Mm-hmm.
were not able to concentrate. Also, this feeling of like the guys were saying, like I'm worthless. I've done all of
Feeling
these
like a
extra
failure.
things. I
Yes.
feel like a failure. And so that irritability, they were saying it's being irritable while doing the very things you love. That there are times that
Yes.
we love being around our children or grandchildren and we find ourselves irritated around them, or we love baking and we find
Mm-hmm.
ourselves irritated doing those things. That could be one of those symptoms and signs of the
And we
holiday blues or you needing to self-check at a time.
I love it, and we don't, just like I said that with sleep patterns and eating patterns and everything, we never correlate frustration, irritability, and anger with blues, with depression, because
Yes,
we're so used to being labeled as angry as the angry black man or the angry black
right.
woman, till we never say
Absolutely.
what's bothering you. Instead of saying what's wrong with you, what's bothering you. There's a reason.
Mhm,
There's
mhm.
something that is driving that anger. And so anger is a secondary emotion to the primary source. Let me say, anger is a
Wow.
secondary emotion to a primary source. And we have to get to, we're
Oh,
oftentimes addressing the secondary, but not nearly addressing the primary cause of that secondary response. Yes.
wow. That See, that's why I hang out with big-brained people. But Marty, one of the things that I found out why I when I was discovering what this holiday blues is,
Hmm.
they were suggesting that nearly 64% of
Hmm.
people are experiencing some type of
Wow.
discomfort, frustration, appetite change, sleep
Hmm.
deprivation.
Hmm.
64%, and that
That is
number
a
is even
high number.
higher for those who are already dealing with mental health concerns. Can you
Most
speak on
definitely.
that a little bit? Why it's a little higher for those that are already predisposed potentially?
Sure, because if you're already depressed and you already have anxiety and some of these other symptomologies and diagnosis already, so this season is coupled on top of that. Remember when I was talking about when we are going through COVID, how COVID made everything complicated. We not just had depression, we had complicated depression. We didn't just have anxiety, we had complicated anxiety. So those who are already
Right.
experiencing some sort of mental health disorder or mental health distraction, now with the holiday blues and the holidays, it's made it more complicated, meaning that it's added pressure on top of that. And so if I'm struggling with managing my depression prior to the holidays, if I'm struggling managing my anxiety prior to the holidays come and hits us like a Mack truck. And then it just makes it even that much more complicated. But here's the good news. There's always some good news that weeping may endure for a night, but joy is coming in the morning. In that
Yes.
that
Yes.
the holiday blues is really what we've noticed is for a short amount of time. Like you said, normally through
Yes.
November, gets a little worse in December, but around January, mid-January, it does lighten up. And so we
Yes.
call that sometimes between holiday blues, seasonal affect. But if I'm talking about clinically, we're talking about really an adjustment disorder. You're adjusting to the various changes in your life as a result
Mm.
of specific symptoms, specific seasons, or specific events that are occurring in your life.
Oh, love that, love that. Okay, so we done tore this thing up about this holiday blues and dealing with the holidays. We done given ourselves some symptoms, and I'm telling you, just being honest, I've seen some things with my appetite, with my sleep
Yes,
patterns, because there's
yes,
so many extra things that are on my plate. I am a bit fatigued, and so it
yes,
is definitely one of those things that's starting to make me think. You need to think about yourself. You
yes.
need to
We
think
do.
about importance. You need to begin to think about what's going on. And so then, Marty, let's get to some of the tips because we got the
Hmm.
symptoms. We know we are either sick
Yes,
or we're about to be very very
yes.
sick
Dr.
with this.
Story,
So yes,
before we even get to the tips, I just want to address one more thing about symptoms
sure.
because we talked about the emotional symptoms, but symptoms can come out physiologically as well. And on the
Okay.
physical, with
Yes.
headaches, with stomach aches, with feeling
Mhm.
nauseous, all of those things,
Yes.
our blood pressure going up. Our diabetes, because if we're diabetic and we're eating the wrong things, our blood sugars going
Mm.
up. So we have to be very careful in our community that
Yes.
I'm going to say this: if you're on your medications, make sure you are taking your medications, especially
Yes.
during
Yes.
this
Yes.
time, because it does come out in those, just like I said, headaches, stomach aches, nausea, all those type
Mhm.
of things, being extremely just feeling lethargic, and those body aches.
Yes.
I carry tension up the back of my neck and on my shoulders, and so when I
Yes.
get a massage, and you're so tense, and how I know where I'm carrying stuff, or if I have too much anxiety, I notice that my shoulders start to knot up. So we have to be also aware not of the emotion, just the emotional sides of that, but the physical sides of it as well, because
Yes.
anxiety and depression enter the body one way, and And if we're not careful, we have to make sure we exit it out the body, because if not, it's going to kill us. And that's what we have to
Wow.
be aware of too.
Yes. Yes. Thank
Yes.
you for interjecting that, because that was rich. Because so it's not just our feelings; it is this
Yes,
physiological. It comes out. So then, when I'm
it
saying
does.
I'm fatigued, you're saying, Rita, pay attention.
Pay
That's
attention.
physiological. That's not how I feel. That I
Yes.
am fatigued.
You
It's a
are fatigued.
fatigue.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
We don't pay enough
Yes.
attention to our bodies and what our
Yes.
bodies are telling us. And our bodies are some of the biggest indicators that something is wrong. I'm going to date us. Remember Lost in Space with Will Rogers
Yes.
and that these, yes, it's a warning, 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 warning. Our bodies is going around saying warning, warning, warning. There's something going
Yes.
on, and we're not paying attention to it, and it leads to strokes. It leads to heart attacks if we're not careful about all those. Those are the severe things, but it will also lead to death if we don't take care of ourselves and pay attention to our bodies.
But you know what?
So
We've got to hear that we could die. And many
yes,
times you're saying there's some preventative things. So you don't have to
yes,
choose to continue to
yes,
not listen to your body. It's giving us the warning. And so then here are
yes.
some tips to help out with the warning.
I love the
So
tips.
then
I love the
we
tips.
yeah, we were talking about this routine that we need to
Yes.
find a routine and we need to stick with it, right, Marty? We need to have the
Yes.
routine of drinking enough water. We got to have the
Yes.
routine of sleeping. We got to have drinking enough water. We got to have the routine of doing those self care things that really are things we just cannot put down and keep us in a good
I love
headspace.
that.
What else about our routine that we need to do?
Yes, I love that. Making sure that I love that you say the routine of going to work, the routine of, and I'm going to say, you know what? Maybe you have a routine of mapping out your schedule for the day so that you're not overwhelmed with all these things, and you're scheduling these things out and making sure that you're keeping to it. So routine. So that's our first R's. We said we got three R's in the tip. So
All right.
routine, and the
Yes.
second one is what we're talking about: rest. Get some
Talk,
rest.
talk,
Get some
talk, sir.
get some rest. And I'm such a big fan of making sure that your bedroom, your room where you rest at, has to be your sanctuary. It
Yes.
does. And studies
Yes.
show that turning the temperature down in the room, a cooler room, you sleep better and you get that REM sleep that you were talking about. Making sure
Yes.
that the room is dark, you sleep better. Making sure your
Yes.
bed is comfortable. Do you need a firm
Yes.
mattress, or all
Yes.
those things matter. Are you
Yes.
relaxed? Have you taken 30 minutes? Give you some aromatherapy. Burn some candles. Don't burn up the room.
Take a
Burn some
bath.
candles.
Take a
Take a
bath.
bath with an F,
Take
a
a bath
bath.
sometimes. Yeah, because no, a
That's
bath.
sometimes, yes,
Right,
yes,
not a BAF, baby. Take a bath because sometimes we're in such a rush sometimes, and I'm not saying
yes,
people are not taking care of their bodies, but even with men, stop and slow down. Sit in the
yes,
water. Take a bath. Put some Epsom
yes.
salt and let it get to them
Come,
old bones. Put some of those little bath bombs in there. Get
yes.
yourself a minute. Lock the door. Don't let them churn in there and leave
Uh-uh.
your cell phone outside of the bathroom.
That's
But
right.
we've
You know what
gotta
also works? That skin, baby. That's Avon Skin So Soft. Y'all don't know nothing about that. That's old school.
baby to
Pour
keep
you a cap
mosquitoes,
full.
it'll keep mosquitoes off of you and it'll make your body, baby, glisten.
Listen, I got me some Skin So Soft. Don't you play with me. Don't you tell no one. I'll
Marty,
soak in
when
my
I get
Epsom
out the
salt with
tub,
my Skin So Soft.
baby, I get out the bathtub looking like an oil
You're like,
slick.
but you're taking care of yourself, baby. You're taking care. And the
I
last one,
take
because
care of
we got
myself.
to go.
We gotta
We got to go. So we
gotta-
said
we-
we said the routine, we said the
yeah,
rest, and then you know
yeah,
what? Be reasonable. Be
be
reasonable.
reasonable.
Don't Don't
Yeah.
set yourself up for failure. Talk to us, Dr.
No.
Story, about being
We,
reasonable.
we gotta set some realistic expectations. We
That's
we
right.
gotta make
That's
sure
right.
that we can't make it to every holiday party. Everybody that we know is not getting a gift today. There's somebody that's gonna be missing what you desire to give them.
Yes.
You might not have the finances to give them, but you can remember
Right.
people by sending a card to them. You can
That's
take a
right.
moment to call them. There's some things that are absolutely free that are meaningful, but
That's
we've got
right.
to get to the place where we're realistic and reasonable in the
That's
pressure we
right.
put on ourselves. Because the other thing is, other pressures will come along, but if we have reasonable expectations of what we're going to do and how we manage what we have to do, I believe that's going to be helpful for each and every one of us, and it'll
I
help us feel
totally agree.
accomplished.
Listen, Dr. Story, this has been absolutely amazing. And I appreciate that
Always.
in our part two of how to handle the holiday blues and the stress of the holidays. We want
Yes.
you to be well. Well, well, well.
Yes.
Dr. Story, I'm going to be seeing you this weekend in person. I'm so excited. Listen, if y'all just
And
happen to
me too.
be in the Williamsport area, this is the men folk only, men folk only, men folk. We're going to be in the man cave. We
Yes.
want to invite you out to Ebenezer Baptist Church, Williamsport, Pennsylvania, on Friday night and Saturday, because we have a
Yes.
two-day men's only retreat as we're going to get down and dirty in the cave and talk about the things that's going to help us handle our own stressors in life. Definitely.
Yes.
Dr. Story,
Yes.
it is always amazing and wonderful to see you. We have way too
Yes.
much fun on this show.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I love you, and I thank God for your commitment to African American young men and brown men's health.
Mm.
Period. The young men and the men. I thank God for your commitment to
Wow,
that,
thank you.
and for you being one that has been a catalyst, especially even for those of us in the church that are believers, to begin to talk about our emotional and
Yes.
psychological wellness. I so appreciate you and I thank you for coming alongside because you have so many things you could be lending your voice to, but you're lending it to this, and it means so much to me. Thank you.
I don't know a better person that I would love to do this with. You're such a brilliant woman of God doing so many great things. And I thank God for your voice and your platform. It's together we're able to reach so many more people. And that's what it's all about. Winning souls, changing hearts so that people might live well. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Listen, we appreciate you. We love you. If you need to get a hold of us, you know how to just reach out to us on Instagram. How do we reach out to you, Dr. Story, real quick before we close?
Dr. Margarita Story on every platform.
On every right, and I'm Mental Health Marty on every platform. So we love you. We
Yeah.
will see you in 2 weeks. Be safe out there. Make sure that you have your routines, that you're getting the rest, and that you are being
Yeah.
reasonable. Until next time, we love you. God bless.